All right, Pro Tip. Well, welcome back to the second part of our series called Pro Tip, where we are talking about the one thing that can make you better at everything. Okay, we're looking at some big ideas from the book. Anybody remember what book we're looking at? Is it on this slide? Proverbs, very good. The book of Proverbs. Yeah, we're digging into some big ideas, some wisdom we can glean from the book of Proverbs, and more specifically, a former king of Israel by the name of Solomon, right? Solomon. Back in those days, he was considered one of the wisest people on earth and also one of the wealthiest. Okay, he was quite rich when it came to value and money that he had, but he was known for his wisdom. He wasn't a crazy rich person like so many people we see today, which is kind of good, right? Well, last week, we began our series looking at this particular truth, right? That wisdom is the one thing that can make you better at everything. Wisdom is the one thing that can make you better at everything that you do. There's one thing that separates pros from amateurs. And it's not just wisdom what you know, it's the utilization of that wisdom that you have. Okay, and we talk about how sometimes we demonstrate wisdom not in what we do, but often in what we don't do. We don't give that jab back at somebody attacking us. Right? We restrain ourselves. We came up with this term called WQ, and we talk about how it's greater than IQ, or intelligence quotient, right? Because wisdom knows that it doesn't know everything, because it starts with the fact that we have to fear the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, as we looked at last week. Okay? That we start with that reverence and respect for God simply because of who He is. Period. End of story. That's it. We respect Him because of who He is and all that He's done and all of His power. Okay? And that helps us to learn to evaluate our experiences. Through that lens, we can evaluate our experiences and therefore learn to keep ourselves in check. Okay? Well, we're continuing down this pro tip path today, and we're going to be learning how trusting God is a pro move. Trusting God is a pro move. But before we dig into things, there's something I need to know. There's something I'm dying to know. Who will share with us about a time when you were in a situation and you had no idea what to do? Who will share about a time you were in a situation and you had no idea what you were supposed to do? Izzy.
So my friend's boyfriend liked me, and he was telling me a certain stuff, so I told her the truth. Because he told me not to tell nobody, but I couldn't keep that to myself and stuff. So she started crying and stuff. It was on a trip actually too.
Of course.
I was just like, I did not know what to do. Like she was crying, he was getting mad, he was cursing at me. I'm like, I just shut my phone off because I did not know what to do.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example. Anybody else? Who else can share a story? All of you have been in situations where you didn't know what to do. Some of you just aren't brave enough to share. So come on, let's be real with one another. Let's go. Who else? In the back.
So back when I worked at Chick-fil-A, a guy came in and he had like a gun in his pocket and he was like low-key on drugs. And he came up to the cash register and he ordered fries and he picked a really, really, really big $100 bill. And I got scared and I didn't know what to do, so I just accepted it and I was getting fired for
Oh no. Another good example of being in a situation where we just don't know what to do or how to handle it. Because life, if we're honest, is full of these situations, right? Where we're like, how am I supposed to navigate this? Someone's handing me this $100 bill. I don't know what to do with it. Someone's told me something that will be detrimental if somebody else hears about it. What do I do? Life is full of these situations for every single one of us. What the heck am I supposed to do right now? I don't know. I've never been through this before. Okay, how am I supposed to navigate this? So let's talk about an example together just to help make sure it's more clear about the tension here of these situations we can be in. Who here has never flown in an airplane before? Who here has never flown in an airplane before? All right, there's a few of you. Allie,
What?
we're going to pick on you. She's like, oh no, I wish I hadn't raised my hand. I didn't know what to do in this situation. All right, hypothetical situation. We're going to pretend, okay? Let's pretend you have a flight out of Charlotte today, later this afternoon. Talk me through everything you're going to do to get on that flight. Go. What are you going to do, Allie? You got a flight. What do you got to do?
I'm here right now.
Sure.
And then I gotta go.
You got to go. Where do you got to go? No, no. You can't get to New York. You haven't got to the flight yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna get in the car.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna drive there.
Okay, can you drive? Oh, all right. Oh, put a Google away. You don't need to be Googling the answers here. This is just for fun. People can help her out. What are you going to do?
I'm gonna get in the car.
All right.
Someone's gonna drive Uber down.
Okay,
And then
good.
I'm gonna get to the airport. No luggage. Where's your luggage? It's already in the car.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Then I'm gonna get in the airport. And then I'm gonna wait at the gate. I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. You're going to walk straight to the gate?
No security.
Girl, you're going to get tackled by security. What have you done with your bag?
I'm gonna put it on the thing.
Are you going to check it in? Is it a carry-on bag or is it a check bag?
That's the difference.
Oh, you got to know these things. How big is it?
Oh, okay.
All right, come on, Allie. You have a giant suitcase. You got to check that thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna let them check it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What if you get lost? What if you miss your flight? What do you do?
Panic.
Right? It's like somebody please give me the rules. Give me the step by step, right? If you had an app on your phone that said, all right, do this, next do this, next do this, specifically for your exact scenario, right? You'd want that. Okay, we want these step-by-step directions on how to navigate this situation in your life, right? How to get to the airport, what to do when you get to the airport. Are you checking the bag? Are you not checking the bag? How do you check your bag? Where's your boarding pass? Which concourse do you go to? Which TSA check do you go to? Are you pre-check? Are you normal? You got to get through. Do you need to eat? All these kind of things in your life, right? In this scenario, what do you do? It's crazy, right? But here's the truth, because we don't want to look dumb. Right? Walking through the airport like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's pretty obvious people who've never been there before, and they just look lost, right? But for many of us, here's the truth. For many of us, this is how we can feel about a relationship with Yeshua. This is the same way we can feel about our relationship with Yeshua. Because it's like, okay, Yeshua, I want to follow you. I love you. I know that you love me. But how is it supposed to work now? What am I supposed to do? What is my life supposed to look like now just because I'm raising my hand saying, yeah, I'm going to follow this Yeshua guy? How am I supposed to make decisions? Lord, I want to follow you, but what are the rules? How do I do it? Can I still watch this show? Can I still hang out with these same people? What's okay and what's not okay? I used to hang out with these people and I used to do these things with them. Is that still okay? Is that cool? Am I okay to do that? Can I post this on social media still? Can I still repost this? And here's where it can get a bit more tense, right? I know we have the Bible as our guide to tell us how to live our lives, right? Okay, but the term dating isn't mentioned in the Bible anywhere. How do you navigate the dating pool, the dating scenario? What is this supposed to look like now? You call yourself a follower of Yeshua. What does dating look like in that? How do you do it? Now, some choices obviously fall into right or wrong, okay, good or bad. Some choices are easy to fall into those categories. Here's a solid example. Murder. Murder is a wrong choice. Murder's not good, it's bad. Don't do it, right? We don't murder. Okay? Stealing and cheating are undoubtedly not good things. But you probably already know that a lot of things, in fact most things, aren't so simple. They're not so black and white. They're not just ones and zeros. Lying. Let's talk about lying. Okay, so flat out we can say lying is wrong. It's wrong. Don't lie. Tell the truth. But don't we try to justify it? Saying things like, what if there are special circumstances? Think of Izzy's scenario. I know this truth. Should I share it? If I don't, am I lying? There's special circumstances. Say you have a friend who would be extremely hurt if you were honest about their style. Okay, well, that's not going to turn out good for anybody if I tell her that she doesn't know how to dress. Okay? Not talking about you specifically. Okay? Wouldn't it just be better to lie and tell her, oh, yeah, I like your outfit. That looks good. Yeah, girl. It looks nice. Okay? Or maybe you forgot to do your homework. But it'd be easier to make up a story, right? To tell your parents or your teacher, like, yeah, I forgot. It's easier to say that than it is to tell the truth. Right? My brother ate my homework. My dog ate my homework. I mean, come on. Right? But sometimes we think in our heads, we play out this scenario, we think, hey, you know what? It's going to be easier for me to not tell the truth than it is to tell the truth. Let's talk about something else. How about boundaries? How about boundaries? How about boundaries when it comes to things like sex? Have you thought of boundaries when it comes to things like sex? Okay, you've probably heard that people of faith say, all right, wait till marriage, right? Sex is created by God and only to be done in marriage. Okay. But isn't it true that we kind of think and consider physical stuff as if it's on some kind of like sliding scale? I mean, there's a whole range of things before sex. Are those things okay? What about kissing? Is kissing right? Is kissing wrong? How far can I go before what seems okay turns into wrong? Are you really not supposed to do anything until you get married to somebody? Or is everything but sex okay before marriage? How do you know? How do you know? Let's get really real now. Let's talk about your friends. What about your friends? We've all got that one friend who can tend to make some bad decisions. No raising hands or pointing fingers, y'all. Come on now. Okay? They're not a bad person. They just tend to make some bad decisions. Maybe they don't pressure you to join them and do what they're doing. But over time, hanging out with them, their decisions start to rub off on you. Okay, but are you supposed to just dump a friend? Aren't Yeshua followers supposed to just love everybody? What are you supposed to do with a good person who may not necessarily at this moment in time be good for you? What do you do with that relationship, with that friendship? How do you handle that situation? Maybe nothing seems more gray than what you post or what you repost. Okay, you know by now that what a post, to get a few more likes, right? People are going to post all these different things. I mean, come on, everybody does it. Everybody's posting or reposting things on social media, but the things that get more posts, often they toe the line of what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. Whether it comes at the expense of your reputation or somebody else's reputation, yeah, I'll go along and continue making fun of this person, right? But these are the kind of posts that may seem a little bit awkward, so should your profile be full of these things just so you can show all these big responses that you get and all these likes that you have? Isn't that the point of social media in the first place? Lots of questions. How do we handle these scenarios that aren't black and white? They're full of gray. Because we could probably think of a million scenarios just like these ones. Okay, where the situation isn't as clear as saying this is right and that is wrong. Life isn't that clear. So how do you handle it? What do you do? Every day you encounter situations that fall somewhere in between. Situations won't always have a clear this is good and that is bad. So the question is, how do you make decisions when the answer isn't obvious? We have so much to navigate in life. And what if we don't know what to do? if we don't know what to do, we can find ourselves starting to hesitate and to hold back because it's like, Yeshua, I want to follow you, but what are the rules? How do I follow you in this situation in my life, in my friendship, in a relationship with somebody? How do I do that? What are the rules? Because I'm going to tell you some good but unsettling news. Some good but some unsettling news. The rule book that you might be looking for that tells you how to navigate all these things and all the decisions to make, guess what? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Flat out. That rule book that you might be looking for doesn't actually exist because Yeshua didn't come to give you new rules. He came to give you a new identity. He did not come to give you new rules. He came to give you a new identity. Because to navigate this life, to be able to walk in the fullness of all that God has for you, to be able to step into any situation full of confidence, you've got to know who you are, and you've got to trust in who He has made you to be. What we need to learn and where true wisdom lies is not in looking down at some book of rules to follow. He wants you looking up at Him. It's a relationship. He wants you looking up at Him. So wisdom is learning to fix your gaze up at your Creator, knowing that He made you, knowing that He loves you, that He created you for a purpose. Wisdom is knowing that our focus needs to be on trusting God, trusting Him and looking to Him. God is not going to make every decision for you. God is not going to tell you to do what to do in every situation that you face. He's not. I've been there. I've tried. But He wants you to think about making your decisions based on the new heart that He's given you. If you believe that Yeshua is your personal Savior, He has given you a new heart. That means He's not going to operate you like a robot or a puppet. It means He wants you to learn to think through His perspective, looking at Him so that you can know how to make your decisions based on that new heart that He's given you. That's what wisdom is. That's what wisdom is learning to do. Our verse today, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Trust the one who made everything, including you, who knows everything, and who knows how everything works. Trust in God's understanding of your situations, and don't only rely on your own understanding. Okay? Now, I'll admit it feels a little weird. It can feel a little weird. Okay? You should trust yourself, right? We should all go with what our gut is telling us, right? If you're in a dangerous situation, your gut's like, hey, fight or flight, right? It's time to flee. We got to get out. Okay, maybe you want to listen to that gut instinct, right, and do that, right? But at the same time, we all know that there are times when we've made decisions that were not so good. Maybe we've listened to our gut instinct. We've made the decision based on that, and the outcome wasn't so good. So sometimes then we need more than our gut instinct. Sometimes we need more than our gut instinct. What are some of your favorite TV shows? Let's think of an example here. Throw out some TV shows y'all like. Modern Family. The A-Team. But what? Nice. What else? Bluey. Oh, someone, so cute. Anybody else? Nobody watches TV? Gilligan's Island. Yes. Love Island and what? Psych. Okay. Chuck was a good one. I like Chuck. Outer Banks. All right. All right, so there's some TV shows. That's pretty cool. Now, imagine you've got a younger sibling. Some of you do, some of you don't. So just imagine, right? And your younger sibling is telling you all about your favorite show. They're telling you all about it, right? what happens, how it ends, all this kind of stuff. But here's the key. They've only seen the trailer. You've seen the whole show. They've seen like 20 seconds of the dang thing. Right? I don't have to tell you that you have a better understanding of that show than your younger sibling does in that scenario. Right? Why? Because you've seen it. You've seen the whole thing and they haven't. You know how it plays out. You know what happens at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, right? You've seen it all. They're just coming up with stuff off their heads because they've seen a 15, 20-second trailer for it. Like, nah, bro, that's my favorite show. Shut your mouth, right? The way God sees our lives works in a similar way. The way God sees our lives works in a similar way. So don't lean on or trust your own understanding or lack of understanding of a situation. Instead, lean on God's understanding of the situation that you're in, because it's absolutely true that He knows better than we do and has experienced all that we could ever experience. He has seen the whole show of your life, every single situation and scenario that you've ever been through and you will ever go through. He has seen it all. So don't be like your little sibling, be like, I know that whole show. You'd be like, nah, bro. No. I got you, right? If you want to know who you are, you have got to look at your Creator. If you want to know who you are, you need to look at your Creator. And when you know who you are, you're going to learn what you're supposed to do with your life. When you know who you are, you will learn what you are supposed to do with your life. If you are a follower of the Lord, you haven't been called to rules. That's not what you've been called to. You've been called to a relationship. Those who are followers of the Messiah are called to be a holy people who represent a holy God. That's who you are. If you believe and you've chosen to follow the Lord, that's who you are. You are holy. You are chosen. You are called to likeness or nature with the Lord, different from the world, set apart from the world. Because of Yeshua, that is who you are if you make that choice. It is in Him where you find your identity. I know some of you are probably thinking, I hear you, James, but that's not me. Thank you. That's not me. I know what I've done. I know the thoughts that I think. I know everything that's going on here. And holy is the last thing I would ever call myself. I don't identify as that. What if I don't even want to be holy? Some of you were there. You think just because you're sitting here means that you're holy and living a holy life and setting yourself apart? And to you I say, I get it. I've been there. I have been there. But bear with me, because maybe you're not who you think you are. Maybe you're not who you think you are. Because to navigate this life, your identity changes everything. Okay, it changes how you walk into situations. Your identity changes how you treat people. It changes the decisions that you make. It changes how you even think about yourself. Identity changes everything. And it gives us the confidence to step into any kind of situation and then know what to do in that moment, because you know who you are. Because you know who your Creator is, what He says about you, and what He has called you to do. So you know how to handle a situation and what to do in that moment. A great example of this is the Apostle Paul. Hopefully most of you have heard that name before. Well, before he became a believer and a follower of Yeshua, he was a Pharisee named Saul. Only one person knows that? Really? We got to go back to basics? Just didn't feel like sharing? That's okay. All right. Yeah, so before he became known as Paul, his name was Saul. This guy was a strict rule follower. Over 600 rules he lived by. That's all he looked at. That's all he lived by. That's all he cared about. That is what he devoted himself to. Until he had a pretty radical encounter with Yeshua, and his identity was completely changed. So much so, to the point that his name was changed from Saul to Paul. He became a completely different person with a completely different mission, with a completely different perspective on life. The lens through which he looked at life completely changed. His focus completely changed. He was, as a Jewish believer in Yeshua as the Messiah of Israel, an incredible apostle to the Gentiles. And he was a huge reason for how I and many of you came to faith today. But before that happened, his identity completely changed. And he did all these things for God in the face of a ton of opposition. And he navigated all that opposition because he realized who God was, he trusted in who God created him to be, and he knew from that who he was. I mean, just look at some of his letters that he wrote. Okay? Romans. I'll give you an excerpt from Romans. I, Paul, am a devoted slave of Messiah Yeshua on assignment, authorized as an apostle to proclaim God's words and acts. Another version says, set apart by God to proclaim, right? To be an apostle, to preach the good news. It's like, all right, but hang on a second. I'm sorry, but I have never introduced myself to someone using my calling. Anybody here? Is that what you guys do? Is that how you introduce yourselves? Like, hi, my name is James, and I'm a devoted follower of Yeshua the Messiah, called as a Gentile to proclaim the good news to Jews and Gentiles to the ends of the earth. It's nice to meet you. I'm proclaiming the acts and works of God. Hi.
No, I just jump into a group.
You just jump into a group. Does anybody do that?
Because I just moved to a different school. So I just jumped into a random group.
Sure. Right? But it's like, come on. Nobody does that, right? Paul did that. Paul did that. And Paul was bold with it. Paul wasn't weird, he was powerful. He was able to step into all these situations because he knew who he was. And when you know who you are, you know what you're supposed to do with your life. But how? More questions, how? How was he able to do this? Well, let's keep reading in Romans, right? It says, the sacred writings contain preliminary reports by the prophets on God's Son. His descent from David roots him in history. His unique identity as Son of God was shown by the Spirit when Yeshua was raised from the dead, setting him apart as Messiah or Master. Through him we received both the generous gift of his life and the urgent task of passing it on to others who receive it by entering in obedient trust in Yeshua. You are who you are through this gift and call of Yeshua the Messiah. What's he saying? What is he saying? He's saying, here's who God is. Here's who Yeshua is. Here's what he sent me to do. Here's who I am. And therefore, here's who you are. So you know what this tells me? It tells me that if you want to know who you are, you have got to know who he is. And not just who he is, but what he thinks about you. What does he think about you? Have any of you ever been in a relationship or friendship where you didn't really know where you stood?
Yes.
Yeah? Right? You're kind of getting all these like mixed feelings. It's like, I like you. Do you like me?
Yes.
Do you not like me? Right? I'm getting all these mixed signals. I could use some clarification. I don't know. Like, how do you feel about me? I like you. I don't know where you stand. Right? No? All right, well, a quick aside for all the ladies in the room. Okay, let me just be frank with you right now. As guys, we can be pretty bad at this whole signal interpretation thing, okay? All right? And I should be honest, we can be bad at it all the time. It's just not something that guys pick up well, okay? So when you get in that situation in life and you're trying to give signals, I will tell you right now, they're not big enough. Okay, we're pretty dense when it comes to picking up signals. The only signal we know how to interpret is the bat signal. And even then we question it at times, okay? So if you're interested in a guy and you want to get into a relationship with him, here's a pro tip for you. Go on Amazon, find a giant, like, I'm talking huge flashlight, and put his name across the front, and then shine it around when you're in his face, right? Hey, guess what? I'm signaling that I might like you, okay?
It's obvious that I like him.
But even then, he might not get it, okay? So just prepare yourself, ladies. It may not be intentional. It's just, we're just dense when it comes to like stuff like that. So anyway, so mixed signals, all right, back here. On the flip side of those mixed signals, right, and those kind of friendships or relationships where you're just not sure if the other person thinks about you or likes you or whatever, right? On the flip side, have any of you ever been in a relationship or have a friendship where you know exactly where you stand? Yeah? You know exactly where you stand with that person, right? You not only know who this person is and what they're about and what their mission is, but you know their intentions towards you. You know their thoughts towards you. You know where you stand in their lives and in their minds and in their eyes, how they feel about you, what they think about you, where you stand. That is a different kind of confidence, right? It's a different kind of confidence that comes with that. And I can tell you that when it comes to Yeshua, he's not trying to run a game on you. Okay, he's not trying to run a game on you. In fact, he has clearly laid out exactly what he thinks about you. Not only has he shown us who he is, what he's about, what his intentions are, what he values, where he stands, but he also shows us what he thinks about you, what he thinks about me. He lays it all out there, and he's not afraid. Whether you love him, whether I love him or not, he is all in. He's all in. He's laid it out clearly, exactly what he would sacrifice to have you. And what he did sacrifice just to be with you and to call you into. It's a different kind of confidence that comes from that. Okay? Now, earlier I said, there isn't a rule book for life. There's not a rule book for life. There's not a rule book for making decisions in life. And some of you are probably thinking, why is this guy not mentioning the Bible? That's kind of a rule book for us, isn't it? Have you thought about that? Well, I hear you, but the Bible's not a rule book. The Bible is not a rule book. It's so much more than that. It's so much better than that. It's our guide. We need it. We need it to navigate this life. We need it to show us who we are in relation to who God is. We need it to show us who he really is and what he's really done for us. Right? It tells us exactly how he feels and what he thinks about you. Here are just a few things. I'm just going to share a few things that the creator of the universe says about you. Hopefully you've heard some of these. If not, take notes. You are a new creation. You are his masterpiece. You are precious in his eyes. You are his son, or you are his daughter. He has loved you with an everlasting love. Through him, you are more than a conqueror. He has a plan for your life. No one and nothing can separate you from his love. And that's only a few of the things that he says about each and every one of you. And when you realize that that's your identity through Yeshua, that's who you are, when you realize that and you take hold of that, you can step into any situation with all the confidence to know that no, you don't have to send that picture. No, you don't have to go back to that site. Yeah, that show's pretty funny, but you know what? It's not for me anymore. It's leading me down the wrong path. You know that your value comes from so much more than what somebody else might think about your body. That you may not know where you're going to go to college, but you can know that there is a great plan for your life. And He's going to be with you every step of the way. You don't have to know that thing to get attention because you already have the attention of the Creator of the universe. So who cares what anybody else thinks? Those lies that are swirling around in your head, that's all they are. They're lies. Because you do matter. Your life is valuable. That God sees you and loves you. And so do other people. And when you know who you are, you know what you're supposed to do. This is the truth that you can choose to live by, that each one of you needs to choose to live by. This is the wisdom that we're talking about in this series. To throw out your own perspective on yourself, to throw out what this world might say about you or what this world cares about and thinks it's cool, and take on God's perspective on you and on life, and to trust and cling to His perspective harder than anything else. Because nobody in this world will love you as much as He does. Nobody in this world will do as much for you as He has already done for you and will continue to do for you. Nobody should matter as much to you as God does. Nobody will be there for you like He will. Nobody can provide for you like He can. Nobody else. This is what forms the foundation of your trust in God. And that's what allows you to navigate life and not be just tossed to and fro by all the wind and waves of doctrine and crap you hear out in the world. Okay? And as our verse for today says, when we get to this point and we trust God and we don't rely on our own understanding, right? It says, then in all your ways submit to God. And submit can be a strange word, right? Some translations, depending on which Bible you might have, would say things like acknowledge, okay? Acknowledge rather than submit. But the idea is to invite God to be involved in and in charge of every part of your life. That's the idea here, okay? It's not just a once-a-week thing. It's not a partial thing where you essentially live two different lives. I come here every Shabbat or whenever we do an event or something and live one way. At home, at school, I live a completely different way. That's not what we're talking about. That's not acknowledging God. That's not submitting to God for your life. But you can choose to trust God with all of your life. And if you do choose to entrust your life with God, He will make your paths straight. Another translation says it this way, and He will show you which path to take. Your path is different than anybody else's. It's different than your parents'. It's different than what others do here. And that's a good thing. But the key component of this is that you're looking to God. And He will show you which path to take. That's the path to follow. No other path. I won't lay out a path for your life. Right? Oh, you're the youth leader. You can tell me what. No. I point you to Him. That's the only thing I'm going to do. That's the only thing I want to do, is point you to Him because He will show you which path to take. Okay, what Solomon is saying is that when we trust God with our lives, He will help us see the next step on a better path forward. Okay? And learning to follow God's wisdom in the gray areas of your life today will be something that you will never regret. Practice it now. Apply it now. Live it now. It will help you in your future. Someone else who was wise told me that sometimes we need to stop listening to ourselves and instead we need to speak truth to ourselves. Anybody ever hear that before? Speak truth to yourself? Yeah? Well, come on, you grew up in my house. Of course you heard it. Right? Somebody told me that sometimes we need to stop listening to ourselves and we need to literally, out loud, speak truth to ourselves. Right? So instead of listening to myself and all the things that I can naturally think of all the things that I'm doing wrong, all the things I could have said better, all the things I could have done better, all the things that I'm not good at, I can choose to counter myself by saying, through Messiah, I am set apart by God. I am a son of the King. I'm a temple of the Holy Spirit. I am a leader. I'm a servant. I build others up. I'm intentional. I seek to do the right thing even when it's hard. I'm a prayer warrior. And I'll be the first to admit that even this year already, we're barely into this year, right? Things just happen, and it's so easy to get taken off track, okay? To be knocked off course by my own thoughts or derailed by all these scenarios and situations going on in my life, right? These challenges or potential setbacks and things. But the truth is that these things don't change who God says that I am. They don't change what He thinks about me. The things that go on in your life don't change who God thinks you are and what He thinks about you. And I know I've got my habits, but now when I don't know what to do, I can remind myself of who I really am. When I feel insecure, I remind myself who I am. When I don't know what to do, I remind myself who I am. When I'm afraid, I can remind myself who I am. When I've been hurt by others, I remind myself who I am. When I'm feeling attacked, I remind myself and my enemy who he is. And greater is the one who is in me than who is in the world. Nobody and nothing can snatch me from his mighty hand. Not because of me, but because of who my God is. And I know the value that I have in his eyes, the price he has paid for my soul and my heart and my life that I in turn give to him. So, to close, who are you? Who do you need to tell yourself and remind yourself you are? You are chosen. You are set apart. You've been called to something higher, to live as a holy people representing a holy God. And when you know who you are, you'll know what to do. But it starts with you trusting God. That's the pro move for your life right now. That is what it means to have wisdom. Everything happening in your life today will be a part of your story. So what kind of story do you want to tell? Who are you? Make the pro-choice and tell of one that's built on trusting your Savior and who he is and who he says you are. Make that your identity. Abba, we bless you. We thank you for this day. We thank you for your great love for us. Thank you for bringing us here in the midst of winter weather, Lord. I pray that the message this morning resonates with those who need to hear it, Lord. But I pray for each of these kids, each of these students, Lord, that they would know you. That as they navigate their lives, Lord, that you've laid out for them, may they know you personally. May they trust in who you say that they are. May they learn to make decisions based on your perspective for their lives, on what you have done for them, of what you want to do with them, of who you promise who they are. May they each know you personally, Lord. And maybe you're here and you know God, but you've forgotten who you are. And you need to remember who he's called you to be. And I pray for you that you would walk in the identity that God has given you. Or maybe you're here and you don't know who you are because you don't know who God is personally. You may think you're too broken to come to the Lord, but the truth is he died for you and his body was broken for you so that you can come to him. So come and know his powerful love. Come and know his incredible perspective of you. Come know your true identity in Messiah and step into the life that he has called you to live. Be his and make him known. In the mighty name of Yeshua we pray. Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom to you all. Great to see you all